Does anybody know who A Boy Named Sue was written by originally? Anyone? If anybody knows, they get a free CD. Who wrote Boy Named Sue? Going once, going twice. Sue?
No, she said June. That's a good guess. She did write most of her songs.
It's Shel Silverstein, everybody. Yeah. Well, my daddy left home when I was 3, and he didn't leave much to ma on me. Just this old guitar and an empty bottle of booze. Now, I don't blame him because he run and hid, but the meanest thing that he ever did was before he left, he went and named me Sue. Suzanne was my full name. Well, he must have thought this was quite a joke, because I got a lot of laughs from a lot of folk, and it seems I had to fight my whole life through. Some guy would laugh and I'd get red, some guy would laugh and I'd bust his head, and I tell you, life ain't easy for a boy named Sue. Zan. Well, I grew up quick and I grew up mean, and my fists got hard and my wits got keen, and I'd roam from town to hide my shame. But I made a vow to the moon and stars that I'd search those honky-tonks and bars and kill the man that gave me that awful name. Well, it was Gatlinburg in mid-July, and I just hit the town and my throat was dry, and I thought I'd stop and have myself a brew. At an old saloon on a street of mud, and there at the table dealing studs sat that dirty mangy dog that named me you-know-who. Well, I knew that snake was my own sweet dad from a worn-out picture that my mother had, and I knew that scar in his cheek and his evil eye. Well, he was big and bent and gray and old, and I looked at him, and my blood ran cold, and I said, "My name is Sue. I do you do. You're gonna die." Well, I hit him hard right between the eyes, and he went down, but to my surprise, he come up with a knife and it cut off a piece of my ear. Well, I busted a chair right across his teeth, and we crashed through the wall and into the street, a kicking and a gouging in the mud and the blood and the beer. Well, I tell you that I'd fought tougher men, but I really can't remember when. With a kick like a mule and a bit like a crocodile. Well, I heard him laugh and then I heard him cuss, and he went for his gun and I pulled mine first, and I stood there looking at him and I saw him smile. He said, "Son, you know this world is rough, and if a man's gonna make it, he's gotta be tough, and I knew I wouldn't be there to help you along. So I gave her that name and I said goodbye, and I knew you'd have to get tough or die. And it's that name that helped to make you strong. Just ask your brother, Bianca, and your sister, Larry." He said, "Now you just fought one heck of a fight, and I know you hate me and you got the right to kill me now. Wouldn't blame you if you do. But you ought to thank me before you die for the gravel in your guts and the spit in your eye, 'cause I'm a son of a ding-dong that named you Sue. Gotta keep it clean for the kids." Well, I got all choked up and I threw down my gun, and I called him Pa and he called me son, and I came away with a different point of view. Well, I think about him every now and again, and every time I try and every time I win. And if I ever have a son, I think I'm gonna name him Steve. That's a good name for him. Or Ebenezer. That's a good name. Anything but Sue. Oh, it's a terrible name unless your kid's a lawyer. It's a good name for a lawyer.